Hi there, Az here. We're doing things a little bit different today. Very weird, I know. Um, so I did a drawing stream, redrawing some of my old art. You can see it on the screen here. It's some really old Gilgamesh fan art from September of 2020, and I thought that maybe it would be better to upload this as a speed draw for prosperity's sake, because I listened to Spotify during the entire stream and I don't want YouTube to get me for it. So I started here with discussing what was wrong with the original piece. Well, right after I sorted out Spotify, I got started on explaining the things that I thought were bad about the original piece that I'm redrawing in this video. I'm watching it on the other screen. So, and then I demonstrated the throwing system. Cool. Good to know it took me forever to get going. At least 5 minutes. Because I have it 2 times speed, so yeah, easily 5 minutes. So the first part that I wanted to point out was the hairline. I don't think I'm very good at drawing this kind of hairline, especially with slick back hair. I've never been good at it. But in particular, this instance is especially egregious. It doesn't look intentional, if that makes sense. The way that I drew it was very, there was just too many, it was too PC. There's too much happening. And I think that that's something that needed to be fixed. Originally, going into the speed draw, I had intended to keep Gilgamesh's slicked back hairstyle, but you will see partway through the sketch that I don't do that, because I got really irritated with whatever the hell the shapes of his hair are doing. I don't know. I was looking at a bunch of references and it's so whack. His hair is so whack. Anyway, you can get a better idea of it. And I kind of sketched over it with an idea of what I thought the hairline should look like, especially to make it look better. I also corrected where I had apparently forgotten his sideburns. They aren't very noticeable, but they're there, and I didn't want to leave them out because it looks really weird. Then I started putting out the red line art for some reason. There was an idea in my head when I drew this, and I, for the life of me, do not know what that idea was. I think the idea was it was red lighting, but I didn't do any red highlighting as if it's being backlit by this red blob in the background. I just put it there. I don't know. I don't know I don't know why I did this. Also, here I'm discussing the background because that is a point of contention. We need to talk about that. I think it's just a picture I found from Google and color corrected. I'm 90% certain that's what that was. I did not draw that. So it needs to be fixed too. And then here I'm going over where there is shading on the hair. It's just really weird. And I blended it out. It needed different shading. Even if it wasn't proper, even if it wasn't cell shading, it needed something. It looks like one mass of hair, which is obviously not how hair works. And just the shapes of the hair all around are very odd. Next, I moved over to the hand. It kind of looks like it's clipping into his chin a little bit, which I don't really know. I know for a fact that my graduate school professors pointed that out to me, but I don't know why I did that. Help. Yeah, that forward shoulder also looks really bad. Like, I don't know what I was doing. And then I was putting up the eyes and how for some reason they're tilted up. He doesn't have slanted up eyes. I just did that. I don't really know why. Don't ask me. It doesn't make sense to me. At some point, I don't exactly remember when on the stream, but at some point I did also point out that I had highlighted the chin with like a yellow color dodge, which again, like, not that that's like a bad thing. I highlight with color dodge all the time. It's just like I don't think I knew what I was doing with the color dodge. Oh, there it is. I just kind of did it, like assuming that that would look good. Cause ooh, color dodge, that's so cool and fancy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I knew what the hell I was doing. Yeah, I can't explain that. I have been assured that this art is not as bad as I think it is, but I think it's pretty bad. Also, I did point out that I don't know why I wrote it like that on my notes, but I left the line indicating like where the bottom of his chin like connects to his neck because his head is like tilted up. I don't know why I left that. That shouldn't have been done. I also should not have like closed off his chin at all. It should have like a little bit of a something showing, which I do fix later. And then here I'm putting out just how his hair looks like fucking whack ass. It looks weird and not right. I just slammed the desk, sorry. So here is where I started my sketch. I wanted to keep the same pose because like to me when I'm redrawing old art, it doesn't feel like I'm redrawing it and learning if I change the pose completely, because like that's just a new piece. To me, it's like more important to fix what was wrong with the original pose. So in the original, I know that I had used a 3D model as like a reference, and I think I also maybe traced the 3D model. I could not just like whip that shit out at that point in time. But there were a lot of issues with that, namely that sometimes like I don't know if you've ever worked with a 3D model, but sometimes when you're like moving the limbs, joints get really like pinched in a way that human joints don't. And at that time I like just did not know how to compensate for that. But so that was one of the things I wanted to fix, because I enjoy drawing muscular men. I know how to do that now. So that was like my first goal here. And then I sat here yapping for a couple minutes, I guess. And then when I moved on to the face, I wanted to make sure that I made him look more like, originally I was like, oh, I need him to look more stern, because in this original art, I feel like his facial expression feels like it, I don't know the exact word, but like it doesn't feel like it's doing much of anything, right? Like he's kind of like assessing the viewer, but he's also kind of like just not doing anything at all. So I wanted to fix that. So originally my idea was to make him look like more like stern and angry, like he's glaring down at like a bug that has deigned to enter his presence. But later on, I think I don't know why I said I think. I do know that I decided to change it to like a mocking smile, you know, where he knows he's going to win whatever is happening. I don't fucking know what the scenario is. I guess he's in a fight, because later when I fixed up the background, I had the Gate of Babylon in there. You know, as one does. I just do stuff. That's the thing about me. I don't plan stuff. I just do stuff. So I just did it. I didn't think that much about it. And here is the beginning of the struggles with the hand. I didn't know what to do with the hand. And I was looking at my own hand, trying to like flip what it looked like in my head. Oh, I guess that's mirror. No, it's not mirroring. I was like trying to like imagine what it would look like in my head, and it wasn't working. But I did eventually get it, and then later I realized that I had drawn it wrong because his stupid gloves are annoying, and we'll get there. But I fiddled with the hand a lot because I just was like doing stuff, trying to find something that worked, because the original hand position that I had for him felt very like non-committal. Like it felt to me like I didn't know what to do with his hand, which is probably true. I probably did not know what to do with his hand because fucking me in a nutshell. I don't ever know what to do with shit like that sometimes, especially at that point in time. I posing was not a thing I was good at. I always needed like a reference pose. I could not just like make one up out of my head very easily. So I just kind of gave him like a really generic hand, but like it doesn't feel very fitting of him. Like even if he's doing like a more relaxed pose like this one is, he's as a character is like always very intentional about the things he does. I mean, even if they're terrible things, he's going to be like doing them on purpose. So I wanted to make it look more like he was like actively like assessing the situation before him, like proud of himself, you know, very smug. Which is kind of how I ended up changing the mouth as well here in a minute. Was because like to me that hand feels like he's like looking down at someone lesser than him and like grinning because he knows he's going to win. But here's where I started the actual like sketching. And I fiddled with his nose for a while, including looking at up references because I could not remember if his nose was straight or if it had a little bit of a like lift up at the end. Because I always draw like little button noses generally, like that's my default. And I needed to make sure that his nose was correct. Although it's fan art, so I guess it doesn't really matter that much whether or not it's correct. I mean, I could just do it in my style and say that that's how we draw noses, but I don't know. I wanted it to be closer to accurate. But also, like, it's kind of hard to tell because I think Takeuchi kind of draws a lot of the noses the same. So looking at, like, his default art and, like, Kuhulan's default art, like, their noses are kind of the same. Their faces are kind of the same. Like, no shade, but, you know. So here's where I pulled the reference up so that I could like have an idea of what I did not want to be repeating. Not that I thought I was going to like, I didn't think there was any possibility that this piece was going to turn out looking identical to the original because that's just not possible. I'm a better artist now. I've learned a lot in the past 3 years since I drew this. So like there was no chance that was going to happen, but I wanted to make sure that I was like actively addressing the problems I had already identified with the original. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, this is just regular sketch phase. I don't think I did anything too special through here. Outside of cutting to an ad break here in a minute or two. Not that you'll notice because I cut that out, but you know. Yeah, I think most of this were pretty standard, so I'll be back later when I have more to say. But for now, here's just the sketching. I think this was around the time where I decided I didn't know what to do with the mouth yet. So I just kind of did like a generically like disgusted looking mouth. And I made sure to like make his eyes squint a little bit more, like he's like glaring. Because that was a problem I noticed in the original piece. But here is where you start to see me struggle with the hairline on his pushed back hair. And this, my friends, is why I changed my mind. I don't think the hairline like looks bad. I actually think it was pretty serviceable. His hair is a hot ass mess. That's what I want to say about it. I don't know what it's doing. It's like that stupid anime hair that just sticks like right out the back end. Like, I don't understand how that works. What is the physics of that? I don't get that. That doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, here you can see me struggling with the hair. I could not get it to go in the right place. I didn't want it to look like it did in the original because I don't like the way it looked in the original. But even like referring to my reference sheet, I could not get it to look a way that I was satisfied with. That's how I want to phrase that. Like, I don't necessarily think it looked bad. Not that I got that far into it, but you know, I just don't think that it was like meeting my expectations and standards that I have for myself now, which like, okay, you can say whatever you want about that. Because obviously maybe I'm putting too much pressure on myself to meet some obscure arbitrary standard that I've set, but that's a different issue. I think every artist does this. You know, it's not necessarily about like, oh, I can't make bad art, because I don't think that's the issue here. It's just that I expect myself to be able to do better than this. And I was really struggling with that hair. Like, I'm not joking. It's gonna make me have an aneurysm or something. Yeah, so here's where I finished off his head so that I could draw his hair on the next layer. I used a oh, cool. I love the train noises. Do you guys like the train noises? For a reference image, I used this little screenshot of Castor Gilgamesh in his summer costume that I just have on my phone. I have a whole photo album of Gilgamesh pictures, so it's like whatever. It's not like I had to go looking for references, but I was using that one kind of to start, as well as some art of Archer Gilgamesh in like Ascension 3. I don't remember where this art is from. I know that it's official art, but I don't remember like what the context was for it, where he's like shirtless in like a jungle or something. I don't know. It looks like it could have come out of one of the like books for CCC or something like that. But it's not Arco's art. It's definitely Takeuchi. I don't know where it came from. I just have it. Anyway. So to start out here, because I don't do a lot of fan art. I should have said that from the top. I don't draw a lot of fan art. I mostly just draw my own characters, including my VTuber model. So like, to start, I felt like the safe bet was to follow the reference as closely as I could on shaping the hair before taking artistic liberty. That was kind of like my thought process, because what I didn't want to do was take too much artistic liberty and then it just like doesn't look like him anymore. Because there's a lot of red-eyed blonde-haired anime dudes out there, unfortunately for me. Not that I think anyone would have mistaken him for somebody else once I added in the tattoos and stuff, but you know. So here you can see where I started like adding little flyaways and, you know, fixing it up a little bit more to match like the way that I usually draw hair. Because I felt like it was a little too, I don't know, a little too stiff. That's not the word. It just feels like it doesn't have enough like life in it, and I like messier. I like a lot of hair. I like a lot of volume. But he doesn't have a lot of hair, so the best way to give him like more volume, quote unquote, is to add little like flyaways so you can see like more of the hair, if that makes any sense. Because like my VTuber has a ton of hair, so I don't necessarily have to do all the flyaways with him, but or with myself. I don't know. I've never once pretended that Az and I are the same person, but also I call myself Az. Whatever. Don't question it. Don't think too hard about it. Oh, I think this is where I noticed that I didn't draw the collarbones on the original drawing. Because I didn't. You can ask me why, but I don't know. I didn't do that. And then I'm back to yapping for a couple minutes. I don't know, man. I did a lot of yapping at the beginning of this stream, at least, where I just wasn't. Oh, I was probably talking to my cat. So at the beginning of the stream, I kicked my cats out later, but at the beginning of the stream, both my cats were in the office, and Truman, precious boy, was constantly screaming at me about how he was hungry. Despite being fed, he has been a brat and does not want to eat the food that I have in the house, so he's just not eating. So he's been like complaining about that, as cats do. So I was probably talking to him at that point, or I had him in my lap trying to get him to meow into the microphone, which is, pretty common on my streams. If Truman is in here, I will try to get him to meow into the microphone. But anyway, I'm sure that a lot of the yapping, at least for the first like 30 minutes of this, is like where I'm just not drawing and I'm just talking. That's probably what that was. I mean, I can't tell you for sure because I have a poo-poo memory. It's very bad. But that's probably what it was, because I know I did that. You can see me fixing the arm. I don't think I commented on it earlier, but I probably should have. When I was drawing the undersketch, like the green layer of the body, I did actually fix the arm. And I grabbed it and lasted it. I think you saw it, but I don't know. And I pulled it in closer because I realized that on the original, or maybe I did that here, I don't know. Part of the reason it looked so off was that the arm was like really far out, but he is like at an angle. So his right shoulder, it's his right shoulder should be like closer to him from our point of view, even if it's not actually like closer to his body. It's like the same distance as the other shoulder, but it should look closer because perspective and whatnot. So I fixed that here, and then I zoomed out and started yapping again. God damn. I believe this was around the time where I was trying to figure out what the fuck was up. Nope, I was trying to figure out his tattoos. I lied. I didn't, because I didn't finish the sentence, but I almost lied to you. This was where I was trying to figure out the tattoos, which I want you to know. Later, when I started rendering, or at least putting flags down, I forgot that I had just already drawn the tattoos. So instead of like, I don't know, just changing the color of this layer and like fixing it to make it look nicer, I started to redraw them before I remembered I had already drawn them. And what was the point of that? Work smarter, not harder, This is a thing that, like, there's no point in me redrawing that. I should have lined them. I realize now I didn't line them. I should have lined them. Anyway, I didn't line anything. You're gonna find out. I painted this. I'm not a painter. I don't usually paint. Usually I like do regular ass line art. And then I do my flats, and then I do like a little bit of like soft shading that's like painterly, and then I do my like hard shading as cell shading. And then do like my effects or some underpainting or whatever. But I painted this. I don't know why I did it this way. Don't ask. I was just messing around, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I just do stuff. Man, I wish I had an explanation for you. Oh, and right here is where I decided that it was freaking me out that he didn't have eyes. So I went ahead and drew like the irises on his eyes. So stupid. I like distracted myself just for that. And then now, finally we're changing the mouth. And I think this is where, and then I mess with this mouth like a lot. I could not figure out where I wanted it to be. And it's entirely possible that next time I go back to this piece, I might move it again, because I think it should have stayed exactly where I drew it initially. Like now that I'm looking back at this, but I moved it up, which is not like the worst decision I've ever made, but I just don't think it looks right. Like his head is not tilted up like that far. That like the distance between his mouth and nose would like look that short. You can see me messing with it. I will say it's whatever I did, it's better than the original where his mouth was like really low on his face. You can kind of see it there in the reference image. I again, it should not have been that low. His mouth should have been slightly higher because his head is tilted up and you're looking at him from like down at an angle, right? So yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I think I also actually made the angle a little bit more extreme here in the redraw than it was in the original, which I did make a mental note of, but I don't really know, like, I didn't make a conscious decision to do that. I just kind of did it. I don't know. I just do stuff anyway. All right, so this is the beginning of the glove fiasco, where I could not figure out what the hell was going on with his gloves. Or glove, singular, sorry. So I drew a hand just off to the side as a reference. Is it a good hand? Not, I mean, it's okay. It's not the worst. It's not the worst hand I've ever drawn, but it's also not the best one. But I just stuck it on there because I was trying to figure out what was going on with his gloves. His glove, singular. I keep saying gloves. It's not. In this alt, or this like ascension, he has a single glove because he's a loser. I was trying to look at like his art from Fate Grand Order. I was trying to look at like some other like official art. I was looking at like a figure that I literally have in my office as a reference to figure out what was going on with this glove, because I could not figure out in the original drawing. I had drawn a strap across the palm of the hand, like right underneath, like I don't know, like, you know, right underneath the knuckles, basically. And I could not figure out why I did that, because I genuinely like didn't know if that was how it looked. Well, turns out that no, it doesn't have a strap there. As far as I can tell, the metal plate on the back of the hand, which also, oh no, it's the right one. The metal plate on the back of the hand is like just attached to the material of the glove. I don't know, man. Fantasy, anime. I don't know how that works either. And then the fingers are segmented into two. So like the joint at the tip of the finger, you cannot bend that. That will become important later because the fingers are gonna look really fucked up for a minute there. But it's fine. And the tip part that covers like that, like from the tip of the finger down to the knuckle, also covers like the tip of the finger on the inside of the palm, which was what I was trying to figure out. And you can see where I've like notated that on the thumb. And there's also like an extra panel on the hand that does not matter for this drawing, but I just wanted to have it there because I don't know, man. I was just drawing it. I drew it there in case I needed it, but then I like realized that like there is no world in which the angle his hand is at that would be seen. So it literally didn't matter. But you know what? I did it and I did my research. That's what matters. And then here's where I started drawing his arm and his hand. I do think I made the hand a little too big, but I'll just probably fix that next time I work on this drawing on stream. And here you can see me fiddling with the bracelet, so enjoy that. Around this time is when I decided to change the layout of the stream. I don't know why. I just did it on a whim. I hid chat and I moved the screen over and made it bigger, and I made myself and all my stuff smaller. And it took me forever to find the desk, and then I proceeded to promptly skip the song that was playing because it was really bad. Like, it was really bad. I also immediately removed it from that playlist. But anyway, here we are, back to drawing. Here is where I decided to start working on the background. I had no idea what I was going to do for the background out the gate. But then I was looking at one of my references and I was like, you know what? The Gate of Babylon is in this art, so that would be cool. I should just do that. So that's what I started doing. I won't finish it in this video. I just kind of got it on there, so my ideas would be like on paper and I'd know what I was doing. But I did take like careful notice of where I was putting each gate, because what I didn't want to do was put them like obstructing his face in a way that it was like distracting. So I tried to keep them like keep a decent like perimeter around his head, and then they could kind of like, you know, go behind his shoulders and stuff. But for framing reasons, I thought it would look better to not have them like, you know, overlapping with, or I guess have his head overlapping with them, right, where they're like behind his head, because that's going to end up being way too distracting once I draw all the weapons in. And I think that was a good choice. I feel pretty confident in that choice. And it's gonna look real bad here for a minute. I also was fiddling around with the not quite yet, but I was fiddling around with the like gradient mapping, but Procreate doesn't really have like good gradient mapping. Like to me, it doesn't really look like a gradient so much as it's just like a blend of the two colors that I've picked, which is not what I wanted. I want like a clear, like, to, you know, go from 1 to 2. Oh yeah, here you can see me putting some of them like behind his shoulders and some of them like cut off on the sides. The gates, I mean, I should have specified that. I just completely changed subjects. Sorry. Yeah. And then I distorted it a little bit to try and like, so I wouldn't have to like draw weird like oblong shapes. But I wanted to make them like add the same, I wanted to make them fit the same angle. And then I just erased one of them and moved the other one like further in to kind of keep that framing. I'm pretty pleased with that. I feel good about how I did that. But here's where we get into the gradient mapping, because oh boy, this was a nightmare. I did not enjoy this. I ended up doing this like myself. You'll see. But I ended up like manually just doing it with like the soft airbrush, you know, like old school way they, you know, like not, this doesn't look like a gradient to me. I don't know, maybe it's just the canvas is too small. I don't know. I was just using a regular square size canvas. Oh yeah, while I'm fiddling with this on screen. Okay, before anybody asks, I was using the square size canvas because I thought that is what size this Gilgamesh piece was, the old one. But apparently it is some weird size. I don't even know what size it is. I could probably check. I have the file still on my iPad, but like I thought it was a square. Like genuinely in my heart believed that it was a square shaped image, and it's not. It's not square shaped like at all. So that's why we're using the square. Here you can see I'm doing the gradient manually. At first I did it like just a regular like top to bottom gradient, but then I was like, that looks boring and we're at an angle. That's dumb. I don't want to do that. So then I'm gonna clear the layer and start over. And do it where like it's darker, you know, back behind him, and then the part that's like supposed to be the more forward area up here next to his left shoulder. I said right earlier, it's his left. I don't know left from right. Please forgive me. I'm very queer. I don't know things. Anyway, I just do art. Let me live. Yeah, so that's where I ended up with this. I think it looks leagues better than whatever it is that I did with the original. Like even ignoring the fact that I used the like a picture that wasn't mine for the original, there was no sense of depth to it, right? Like he was just stuck on that background. And I think that was like a major failing on my part as far as this piece goes, was like I think it just overall lacked a lot of depth. It didn't have like a lot of like overlapping shadows and, you know, multiple shadows showing like layers of depth, right? You know, so you have like a lighter shadow and then a darker shadow. I didn't do any of that. And then obviously like whatever was going on with the hair where I like blended everything out and it left with no shading at all. And it just looks like one singular mass. It's like a weird like wig from Whoville. I don't know. It's not good. Anyway, this is where I started painting. Again, usually I would line this and then paint it. But I didn't do that this time. I don't know why. This is how we're doing it. So, this is just how I did it. I can't explain that to you, but this is what we did. I lassoed it really roughly, and then I started fixing the edges, like, and I color dropped it because the brush I was using doesn't like fill in color very well. So it's easier for like large areas to color drop it and then just work around the edge where I don't have to like double back as often. Yeah. And then here I made his neck too thick. I'll fix it later. Don't worry. Don't think too hard about it. I'll fix it later. I promise. Yeah, there it is. But yeah, after we finished cleaning this up, I then took like a brown color and started lining it. And that's pretty much how I'm going to proceed with all of the painting here, except for the eyes. The eyes are a little bit weird. I don't really know. I can't explain my process there because I don't know. I just did stuff. Again, I was using my own models like eyes as reference for how I usually draw eyes. And I just didn't do it like that. So, if you want to know how I did it, I don't know. I don't know. You'll see. Right here, where I'm pulling the reference image back up, is where somebody came into chat and asked me what the original looked like. So I showed it to them, and I was informed that it was not that bad. Actually, it was really good. I was like, it's not that good, but okay, thank you. I think I'm just being too hard on myself. Like, objectively, I don't think it's like the worst piece of art ever made, right? I just like personally feel that it's very amateurish, and I know that I could do better. So I just want to like see the difference, right? I want to see the comparison between the two. So I felt like this was the best way to do it, as opposed to I don't know, just trying a new Google Mesh drawing. That probably would have been easier. I could have just drawn a new one. Whatever. I don't think about these things. Anyway. I think this is where I started working on the eyes and stuff. Yeah. So I'll just kind of let you guys watch that because I can't explain to you what I did. I don't know. As I said earlier, I was taken over, I guess, by the spirit of art. Maybe. Don't question it. this is the moment where I realized that I did not underpaint this. Will I use this underpainting? No. I ended up hiding the layer because I just couldn't get it to look right. I might adjust it later, but I did not underpaint it, just, you know, in the event that I wanted to have it underpainted. So this is me backtracking so that I can underpaint it. I have to fill in all the stuff that I did not originally draw, like the hair and the hand, and then go in and color over all of the line work. I mean, thankfully I duplicated the layer. Like I was not stupid. I did keep the layer where I had all lines, but it was just really annoying. But once I'm done with this, I ended up adjusting it to like a red color. I think that was my mistake. Because in my head I was like, oh, I'll do it with a red. I'll highlight in a lighter red, and I'll do the shading in like a purpley color so that it has some like contrast. I should not have done that. I think I should have left it blue the way I had it originally. You'll see. I originally went with like a blue color, and I was like, oh, I'll shade it in red and I'll highlight it in another red. And I didn't do that. I think that's what should have happened. And if I decide to use it, I don't know, man. On the other hand, I think using the red is better because I don't want to like make him look sickly. But I don't know. Whether or not I use the underpainting remains to be seen. I will determine that once I get all of the shading and whatnot done. Because quite honestly, I don't like how it looks right now. Usually I don't have this problem. But I really, really hated how this underpainting looked with the skin color. Like, if that makes sense. But I don't know. Maybe with the background on it, it won't look so bad. It's hard to know. I didn't check it with the background either, I don't think. Because I'm stupid. And I don't think about stuff like that sometimes. I don't know. But yeah, I should have done that. And it probably would have looked perfectly fine. But I didn't. So you get what you get. Which is me doing all this underpainting and then hiding it. But you know what? While we're here, I'll talk about the underpainting process. I learned this from TikTok. I don't know where the video is. I'll put a link to the video in the description. Because like I don't know who it's by off the top of my head. Didn't Matt Pat talk about that? Where nobody knows the name of creators on TikTok. Sorry, guys. But basically the idea is to do like some really like big shading strokes. Like nothing detailed. Just like, you know, big ideas to kind of like match your background. And you use like a really bright color. And then you shade with a contrasting color that has texture. The big thing is that your shading and highlighting need to have a texture. Like you need to use a textured brush. And it took me a minute there to figure out what brush I wanted to use, but this is the one I ended up on. I don't remember which one it is. It's a default painting brush from Procreate. Like I really did not dig deep for this. I just think the texture is nice. Usually this ends up looking really good. I don't really know what I was doing here. I don't know like why I was unsatisfied with it. I think maybe it's a problem with fan art in general. I'm always unsatisfied with fan art, but like I don't know. I just felt like something was not right about the way I underpainted this. So I'll have to go back and look at it another time, or maybe it looks fine to you guys and I'm just like waffling about nothing. Who knows? You tell me. I don't fucking know. Who knows? Not me. But yeah, it's not like a very difficult process. I actually think it's pretty fun. It's like very easy. It's very quick, and a lot of times I can add like a lot of brightness and texture to a piece that otherwise wouldn't have it, which is part of why I really like it. But yeah, I just did not like it on this one. I think also maybe it would have been better if I had used like more of a bluish color to shade with instead of a purple. Like maybe it was just that there was not enough contrast. I'm also wondering if maybe like the base red I used was too dark, because I think that's definitely possible. I think maybe I should have used a brighter red for the base color, and then it wouldn't have looked so like weird. Because you'll see, I think that when I started like lowering the opacity on the skin tone, it just didn't look quite right. But maybe it's because I made the red too dark. That's totally possible. I would not put it past myself. Because I was just trying to like, I don't know what I was going for, man. I just wanted to like keep a consistent color palette and then add in the shading as like the contrasting color. Because it just looks good, like objectively. Like when I shade it, cell shaded, right? I'll still use like a purpley shading. I believe on the original I used red to shade, which didn't make sense because red was my light source. So why was I not like highlighting with red and then shading with the opposite of red? I don't know. To be honest, I basically always shade with purple these days anyway, but you know, I don't know what I was doing there. There are so many things I can say about this piece that I personally find to be great, like grievous mistakes. Grievous is not the word I'm looking for. That is a character from Star Wars. Like, you know, I just find them to be like very large mistakes that are like super noticeable and obvious to me. But I mean, also like I have a master's in visual art and I've been doing art for, yes, I don't know. I can't do math right now. I can't do math ever, but I especially can't do it right now. It's 1 in the morning. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure that I'm being too hard on myself about the original piece. It's probably not like the worst thing anyone's ever seen. But also, I think it's pretty bad. Sorry. I just couldn't resist. Sorry, I'll stop. Anyway, this is where I believe I started working on the eyes. I didn't want to use a white color like I did on the teeth. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure I'll keep the white on the teeth. I might swap it to a slight off-white because it looks a little jarring. But I went with an off-white for the like whites of the eyes, because I wanted to make sure that when I put like a little white highlight on it, it would stand out more. And also I'm planning for him to be like more shaded. You know, like it's weird lighting, right? Like if he's highlighted in red, bathed in red light, it makes sense that his eyes, like the whites of his eyes, would not be perfectly white. So that was my thought process here. And I will say, I think that's one of the things I did really, really well in the original, was I made sure that the whites of his eyes were not just like perfectly white. They like matched the tone of the rest of the piece. So I think that was good. I'm proud of myself for that one. But anyway, yeah, this is when I started working on the eyes. I modified the way I usually do the eyes. Like if you compare it to how I did, how Az's eyes look, I usually use like a soft hairbrush to do the like brown to black gradient. Look, man, whatever works. And I like how it's like a soft gradient. It's nice. It's an easy transition. But I thought since I was doing like a painterly thing here, it might look better to do it with the painterly brush and just like blend it. And I do think it looked good. I'm pretty pleased with how those came out. Like the outline of the eyes. I'm also pretty pleased with how the irises came out. Again, I don't entirely know what I was doing here. I was just kind of doing stuff and seeing what worked. And I just kept adding and fixing until it looked decent. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about the eyes, honestly. They're here. Enjoy me drawing them, I guess. I started working on the tattoos next. You'll see me here trying to just paint them in, using the original ones I drew as a guide. And I don't remember exactly how far I got through this, but I very quickly realized that that was stupid. I don't think a lot of decisions in art are stupid because, to be honest, whatever your workflow is, that's your workflow, right? But sometimes I do think taking the long route, that's stupid. If the option is there to just make your life easier, why would you not just do that? Like, that's kind of part of the joy of digital art, is that you can just make it easier. Yeah, see, here's where I delete it and realized that I could just reuse this and change the color. That was my solution. And then I had to double check my reference to check which color, like what shade of red it was. It's a dark red, by the way. In case anyone ever wants to draw Gilgamesh, his tattoos are like, not like a super dark red, but like they're like a wine red without the purple. That's how I would describe them. Maybe blood red is the better answer. I don't know. Am I allowed to say that word on YouTube? I know I can say it on Twitch. I say all kinds of stuff on Twitch. Thank you, Twitch, for being lenient with me. Yeah, so here's where I started correcting them. I'll have to go back and correct them again to like account for where they like kind of go up over the collarbone and then come down, right? But I just really wanted to get them on there. At this point in the stream, I was starting to get hungry. My stomach was like actively growling. I still haven't eaten. Nobody say anything. And I basically just really wanted to finish the flats before I ended stream, just so I could have like a starting point of a comparison. Because if I didn't have all the flat colors down, it would be really difficult for me to like compare the new piece to the old one. Just to me personally, I mean, maybe other people, they can do that, but not me. So that was the idea here. And you'll see me painstakingly go through and correct all of these, but that's way easier than having to redraw them from scratch. So this is where I started working on the hair. I needed to figure out exactly what color I wanted to use because like his default hair color is basically just yellow. But I didn't want to use like a bright ass yellow because I thought it would look weird. So I wanted to like find a slightly better color, which I ended up on this like I don't know what the name is, like goldenrod yellow. I don't know Crayola terms there. So I drew in his eyebrows to kind of like use it as a test, and I think I feel like the color turned out really good. I like that shade because it has good options for shadows, and once I add like highlighting in, it'll kind of like lighten it up a little bit, and it'll be a little bit like less yellow. You know, it'll kind of give the impression that like the original hair color is the lighter one, and then just because of the reddish lighting, it's appearing more yellow. If that makes sense. That was like my thought process here. I forgot I did that. Sorry. I'm getting tired. Like I said, it's 1 a.m. I didn't even like select things very well. If I really wanted to save myself some time, I would have done a better job with the selection tool, but I didn't do that. So it is what it is. But this is where I started drawing the hair, and please do not get mad at me. I leave it unlined for a bit here until the very end, and it's like the last thing I do is I line the hair. So just don't question it. Don't be mad at me for not lining the hair, because like me personally, I would find that infuriating if I was like watching a speed draw and they just inexplicably did that and did not tell me that they're gonna do it later. But I do line it, just not right now. So sorry in advance. And then the last thing that we're gonna work on, because this is about where I'm gonna stop talking to y'all until the end. So the last thing that I end up working on before lining the hair is the is the front hand with the glove and all. And I ended up lining it, and then I added in the earring, but not the necklace, because I'm gonna be honest, the necklace I knew it was gonna annoy me, so I just didn't do it today. Call me a fake fan or whatever, but I just didn't want to do it today, so I didn't. I just left it without it. And honestly, I don't think it looks that bad without it. So whatever. But yeah, those are the last things I did, was the hand, the lining of the hair, and then the earring, which I also lined when I did it. And then I think I pulled the background back up and I changed the color of the Gates of Babylon so I could just go ahead and use those as like my bases, and I don't have to redraw them because I don't want to make my life easier or like more difficult. I want to make it easier. So that was kind of where I went with that. So the last like 15 minutes here, I'm just going to leave you guys to it, and then I will see you at the end. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far, up here on screen you will see a suggestion from YouTube of what of my videos you might like. If you ever want to catch me live, you can check me out at twitch.tv/AzOniVTuber. That's AZONI VTuber. I usually stream on Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time and Saturday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So, if you ever want to join, you know where to find me. Bye!